So we here come to another sections. Unluckily, our speaker Nelson from APIscene is unavailable to do the live sections, but he passed us his recording actually a few days ago. So we will try to paste his recording talk, talking about the how the the impact and the innovation of the adoption for the API in enterprise
Hello and
transformation.
good morning. Thank you for joining this session on innovation and impact, where I'm delighted to share more about some of our experiences with APIs in enterprise transformation. I'm Nelson, and today we have a short, snappy agenda. I start with a little bit about myself and why we're even taking the stage to share about enterprise transformation. Then I go into some of the innovations that we've seen powered by APIs. Next is how to get impact from using APIs, because it's really about business value at the end of the day. And then very briefly close on iteration, because it's an approach that we've seen work very effectively, particularly if you're driving towards an enterprise transformation. And so to kick off, a little bit about myself to set the scene. I'm Nelson Chan. I lead financial services business development for AWS across Hong Kong and Taiwan. And so I started on the technical side, initially in government, and then moved into strategy consulting. And then I moved into the business side with banks across Australia, Singapore, and Hong Kong. And now I'm lucky enough to bridge the technical and the business sides with AWS, try my best to connect that ecosystem of our financial services customers with the financial services and the fintech ecosystems. And so I'm in a team that's dedicated to financial services. And this is just to let you know that there'll be a financial services flavor to this session. And I'm one of our financial services industry specialists, background mostly in banking, as you saw. And I work very closely with my regional and global counterparts, who might be industry specialists like myself. They might also be security, risk, or compliance specialists, including from regulators like HKMA. Or they may be technology specialists with depth and breadth in all types of technology. And of course, I'm from Amazon Web Services, which is important to explain a little bit further because there's lots of different misconceptions about what is cloud. And so we're a cloud company, which doesn't mean we rent out services and data centers by the month or by the year. We're a cloud services company, which means we make available IT services via APIs. Over 200 IT services available via APIs today on demand. So it's turn on, turn off right away with no contractual lock-in. It's pay as you go. In some cases, even millisecond billing like AWS Lambda, which is our service offering. So you use 1 millisecond of compute, you pay for 1 millisecond of compute. You use 2 milliseconds, pay for 2 milliseconds. You can splurge and go up to 3 or 4 milliseconds if you really want. And you can see some of the breadth of the services that are available here on this page. Bonus points if you can spot quantum computing as a service, because that's the sort of thing that's now available via API with AWS. I won't give out points for blockchain or machine learning or security services though, because there's a collection of services there and you can see them grouped together with their own headings. And so the power of APIs is recognized. And I want to get into financial services, which is a space I'm most familiar with. We see financial services, we see financial institutions of all types transforming on AWS with the power of APIs. And today's sharing comes from our experience with engaging these customers and with many of our other customers. On screen, we have some of the customers kind enough to let us use their logos. And so it's these customers as well as the other customers where we draw the lessons learned and the sharings. And they're all using APIs to tap into a range of AWS services to get benefits across the spectrum. Only one of which is cost savings. Admittedly, this is what drives them to initially explore the cloud in most cases. What we do hear from our customers, though, is that it's the other benefits that are more important, such as reducing time to market, enabling faster and easier market expansion, and even improving recruitment and retention of their own technology talent. And it's by changing their operating model and technology stack to leverage API architectures and the power of cloud that they're able to form new partners, create new propositions, and really deliver value. And so some of my favorite call-outs when it comes to what's happening in this space, one of which is integrated ecosystems, where standardized APIs enable rapid and seamless integration with third parties and partners. Some digital native fintech examples are Starling Bank in the UK. They offer a financial services marketplace that's facilitated by APIs. Solaris Bank in Germany, banking as a service is available, but so is crypto trading as a service as well. Then there's embedded finance, where we see banks and financial institutions allow their solutions and capabilities to be embedded into other companies, quite often outside of financial services. There's integrated data sets, which makes this list because of the focus on ESG right now. Carbon footprints, as well as key sustainability and governance data sets, are all available via APIs. I know this because we have the likes of FactSet and Arabesque hosting their ESG data on AWS Data Exchange. AWS Data Exchange is like Amazon.com, but just for data feeds. You can just go in there, pick the data feed you want, connect via APIs to pull it in. And then crucially, seamless customer experiences. We are seeing the promise of omni-channel experiences come true. In person, customer contact, and digital channels, they're now being integrated using APIs, with their interaction data being pooled so that the best product and service for those customers can be recommended. And as an example of how APIs are driving innovation, let's take a look at the concept of a data lake. Because while we talk about a data lake, it's really a collection of different services bound together with APIs. And it's because APIs lets us easily connect all these different services that data lakes are just so powerful and foundational for doing analytics in this era of big data. And for me, there's two capabilities that I really love. One is going beyond structured data. I mentioned that I started my own career on the technical side, actually as a database administrator for a while. And my career, or my job then, was much easier because if it wasn't normalized data, I could say no. Can't help you, it's not normalized, go normalize it, then come back. Can't normalize it, can't help you. But that's not true anymore because semi-structured and unstructured data can now be easily supported. So that's one big difference in how the technology has evolved, and it really has been facilitated by APIs. The other capability that I really admire, and this comes from the business side, is the ability to capture data lineage. Being able to use things like AWS Glue to crawl and catalog the data so that you can see where the data originated from, how it transformed, and how it converged with other data sets throughout its life cycle. As a business user, that lets me go back and understand the history of the data and let me make my judgments about how I should interpret it, not just the raw data set, but also the insights and analytics that I'm seeing that come out the other side. And if you want a more concrete example of the different AWS services coming together in a data lake, here is a sample reference architecture for financial services. It's one that can support fraud detection, credit risk, marketing, and even converting your own data into a revenue stream. But today is not the time to dwell on technical architectures, because I want to talk about business value. I want to talk about the impact that APIs can have for an enterprise and the role that they have within an enterprise transformation. And maybe this isn't the answer that you're going to be expecting. Because why don't I share this story by starting with Amazon? Amazon, where our mission is to be Earth's most customer-centric company. Because why would APIs have a role in being Earth's most customer-centric company? APIs actually have a very crucial role. It's a necessary role, but I wouldn't say it's a sufficient role. It's a foundational ingredient of how we enable our own innovation and how we operate at speed and at scale, but there's other ingredients that are necessary as well. On this page, APIs, they're situated within architecture because it's what allows us to have microservice architectures and loosely coupled applications. And I'm showing this page because there are other ingredients that you can see. We have architecture, we have culture, we have mechanisms, we have organization, and these are all important ingredients. Something else that I won't dive into today, but it's a story that we're very happy to share, and we're always looking forward to sharing this story. We call it Our Culture of Innovation, where we explain in a lot more detail about how each of these pieces work and how they come together to enable innovation. Feel free to reach out to me afterwards if you want to hear about this story, but I'm just sharing this right now because it sets the scene of how APIs are a necessary but not sufficient ingredient within enterprise transformation. Of the four ingredients, architecture, culture, mechanisms, and organization, they need to be brought together. And the natural question is, how do you bring them together? And our answer to this is with a flywheel, an ever-spinning cycle that we begin with customer experience. To be Earth's most customer-centric company, we need to start with the customer experience. And that's what we work backwards from this idea of how can we delight our customers? How can we reimagine our products and services to excite and thrill them? And then by delighting our customers, this creates more demand. More demand brings more interactions and feedback, more information that gives us insight, which then lets us create even more products to delight the customer. And so as we go through this cycle, we generate operational efficiencies, which brings down costs, which we can then pass on to the customers, and that tends to make them happy as well. And so as an example of how we've been able to operationalize this, we've been able to bring over 100 price reductions for AWS services since we launched in 2006. And so the key message that I'm hoping to share with you today is to remember that APIs are important and that culture and organization is just as important as the technology. And so as some key takeaways from what we're seeing with our customers and from within Amazon, multidisciplinary teams, that's the first one. They work. I've been in functional teams and product teams, and I see the best results when different skill sets and perspectives are brought together. Being able to start small and move fast actually gets you to achieving a think big result faster. Another takeaway is being a champion of learning, particularly learning from failures, because this is something that everyone needs to support at all levels, across all functions and businesses of any enterprise. And of course, always having a focus on speed of decision making. Super valuable across the entire enterprise. We recognize that there's one-way doors that require more time and reflection, but most of the time, decisions are two-way doors that can be made quickly, and if there's any problems, you can go back without any problems. And recognizing that difference between one-way doors and two-way doors really makes a difference to speed. And so these are some of the things that we've found that really make a difference from a culture and organization lens. And we need to bring this together with key organizational capabilities, because that's how you deliver value with APIs. And here are 5 capabilities that I feel are always worth asking yourself, how can they be stronger? I start with customer obsession. The ability to understand customers and work backwards from their needs to continuously adapt to them. As Jeff Bezos previously said, customers are wonderfully, beautifully dissatisfied. And that's what should really drive us to make changes. Another capability, organized for value. The ability to focus on value-adding business processes and being able to use data to control those processes and drive efficiency. Experimentation is key. The ability to experiment and innovate through small increments, but with high frequency, is something that we've seen really work. You can call it test and learn. Secure and resilient technology at the core. That is a capability that's true for pretty much every organization these days. The ability to simplify and automate IT and its operations, and being also able to easily and reliably integrate new technologies such as artificial intelligence and machine learning, where we're seeing a lot of demand. And by being able to easily and quickly integrate them into the businesses, that's how we see value being delivered faster. And then the last capability I'd like to call out, strategic use of data. The ability to remove siloed data sources to drive decision making and use that data to consistently deliver better quality decisions to drive the right goals throughout the business. And so when I first joined AWS about 2 years ago, I don't think I fully understood this. I mentioned that I worked in the business side and I'd worked in the technology side, even in strategy consulting and even directly to CEOs. And I think it's only after I joined AWS that I began to see the true transformational power of technology. That is, when it's properly coupled and aligned with the business operating model. Technology by itself, without the other side of the equation, just didn't deliver the same value. And so, with all our focus on APIs today, I wanted to share this reminder that APIs also need to thrive internally. To deliver impact, they need an internal ecosystem, a cultural and organizational ecosystem to deliver that value. And so there's many ingredients to a successful enterprise transformation, and APIs, I strongly believe, is near the top of that list. It's a necessary ingredient, but it's not sufficient in itself. And so I want to close on this slide because it's just reinforcement that you really need a flywheel that keeps building up on your successes, because this is what drives enterprise transformation. Another way of thinking about it is one API won't do the trick. You can have one API, it helps you drive that flywheel in some way, but then once you've done it, you get value from it. Can you drive more value? What are the other APIs that you should be using to continually drive value? We start from customer experience and how we can delight the customer, and I think it's a fair question. How do you do that with APIs? And I think the key message here is it's not going to be an overnight success story. It's more a 20-year overnight success story, if you've heard that phrase before. whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. The point is that overnight success stories usually involve a lot of hard work behind the scenes first that build up those small wins before snowballing into bigger wins, before really having an impact in the market. And so iterating through improving customer experience enabled by APIs, that's how we've seen the most successful transformations. So I hope you found this session useful, covering the innovations that are possible with APIs, how delivering impact with APIs requires multiple ingredients, and the power of iteration, not just settling for one API or one success, but building on those successes, building on those successful API integrations, and continuing to repeat that. So I want to thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, feedbacks, or even ideas, please do reach out. I hope you enjoy the rest of the API Days conference.